How's it going, Badgers? This is Oscar coming to you live from the KCC Spin Studios, and this is episode 3 of our podcast. We're excited to be with you guys today, and I have a special guest today, Dean Stickles, right?
Hello.
Or you go Dean Stickles, Chris Stickles,
Dean
the
Stickles,
man,
yeah, Chris
right?
Stickles,
The baddest man alive, whatever you want to call him. So, anyways, we thank you for being here. We
Absolutely.
we try to, kind of a short and sweet message, but also we're trying to, for audience like parents and for new college students or people that are probably thinking of coming to KCC, kind of everything that we have, resource opportunities, and some of the questions we hear sometimes when we go around the high schools are like, I don't think I'm going to go to college because college is not for me, right? So why don't you take and kind of introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then maybe tackle that first question about students that say college is not for me.
All right, done. So I'm Christopher Stickles. I'm the dean for CTE. I've been here just about 18 years I'm going on.
Ooh.
So I've watched 4 buildings grow to 10. I've watched anywhere from 7 programs. I think we're up to over 21 now.
Jeez.
So it's been a fun ride, and it's been great for the community. It's been great to be a part of the community, not only KCC Badger community, but Klamath Falls community itself. And I was that student at high school asking those questions.
Yeah.
So when I was graduating high school, I was really good at the social aspect. I played sports, and when my guidance counselor said, "What do you want to do?" I was like, "Nah." And they said, "You have to take SATs." I'm like, "Oh." So luckily, in my area where I grew up in upstate New York, there was 2 community colleges. So you either went south to one or you went north to the other. And I went north to Adirondack Community College. And at that part of stepping onto that campus, I still didn't know if I was ready. And I remember just like kind of going in saying, "What am I doing here?" And people asking what my major was going to be. What do you think you want to do? And at that time, I said criminal justice because I had a small shadowing with a police chief.
Like a ride-along thing?
Ride-along.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
and I was like, oh, okay, maybe this. And then, of course, Miami Vice was going on. So everyone wanted to be a police officer at that time.
Like Chips, the movie Chips, or the show Chips with Eric Estrada.
Oh, of course. Motorcycle
Latino
cop.
heat there.
And I remember being at school and going to my first class and saying, do I belong here? Do I felt out of water. And I remember the instructor talking about syllabi, walking me through a couple different things. It started to wake up a little bit. And then I also realized there was no bells. There was no lunch period. It was all on me.
Yeah.
It was nice. And then walking around campus, I started to talk to other students. They had some of the similar feelings that I did. I started to take a few other classes that really interest me, anything from art to a badminton class, which was a lot of fun.
Really? I thought badminton was kind of new, but all right. It's been a little bit.
I was badminton champion that year, by the way. Undefeated. Just going to lay that out there. But it was a criminal justice class that kind of woke me up. And then I remember sitting in the hallway listening to other classes happening. And there was ethics classes. There was a sociology class. And so that's how I ended up finding my next step. And it really was engaging the faculty, engaging the staff members that were there on campus, and asking as many questions as possible, and really being vulnerable in the aspect of if I felt lost, I just told people, I feel kind of lost. Well, what do we do here? And that's where I'd run into someone like you, and you'd be like, "Hey, have you thought about this registration?"
Loud. Yeah.
And so I was that student, and I think to myself is when I stepped in and started to recognize that learning was something I wanted to do my entire life, community college allowed me to start that journey and then start with classes that interest me, and then you start to gear yourself into what you want from there.
Yeah. That seems. I mean, that's a very remarkable, I think, story. I think a lot of the people that have been on the show kind of share the same thing, like being vulnerable, like saying, "I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what I'm doing.
Yep.
Like somebody help me, right?" And we always say at KCC, that's our job.
Yeah,
we're here to help you. Like if we're not helping you, then what are we doing?
Well, that's what I'm amazed. Like when I see you do new student orientation, you have everyone up there like giving all the different resources we have on campus, the different ideas, faculty coming in trying to give their perspective.
Right.
And at that point, you feel like you're drinking out of a fire hose, right? You have
True.
that going on. And then all of a sudden you're 2-3 weeks in and you're like, okay, how's my Canvas course shell going? Am I checking on my grades? Got my midterms coming up,
Yeah.
right?
Midterms this week.
And so if you're feeling at all behind on that, you have to reach out to your faculty member. You do it through your Canvas course shell, email them, and him or her will respond back. The other part that I recognized on community colleges, why they mean so much to me, is because what you just said, the majority of us have an experience with a community college, or we know why our mission is to be here.
For sure.
And that's what I say. Like, if you're vulnerable, saying, hey, I don't know what to do here, you're going to come across someone, especially a staff member, that's going to be able to say, oh, this is what it is, or hey, you should go talk to this individual. And that becomes crazy important. And it's part of like my life mission of being able to give opportunities to individuals that all of a sudden you're like, hey, I was not good at academics in high school. Well, nor was I. I did the best I could.
Right.
I did, I graduated, but I basically was like, I don't know if this is for me. And then after recognizing a little bit of success and talking to the individuals, then all of a sudden you have a couple of grades come in. You're like, all right, so I passed the first term. Let's get to the second.
Now, what would you say to like students that are watching that maybe they're in high school right now, or maybe they graduated high school and they took their gap year? Like the gap year turns into 10 years or 12 years. Unfortunately, I was one of them. And what would you say to the student that thinks that college is just about like, I got to come in, I got to do my tests, I got to do all these things. Like there's nothing fun for me. Like there's nothing that I can get out of there and do a job right away. It's like I have to go through all this school to hopefully get a job. Like we're in a whole different world now. And I think there's a lot of good things happening.
And that was what I see happening right now, especially across the nation and happening here at KCC, is we're breaking our courses up. So if you come into a manufacturing course, you may have like 8 classes that are their technical core, but we have them as standalone courses also. Because if you take a CAD 1 course, you now have CAD skills.
Yeah.
Right? You want to advance those skills, take your CAD 2 course. But it's possible that there's jobs out there for that CAD 1 course.
That's true.
And so when you really start to shape in, we're going to want you to come in, take your 15 credits, get yourself on good track. There's a bunch of incentives for that too. And there's good reasons for that. Nationally, they show that students really commit to that. They really do finish better on time. And, they have a more rewarding kind of thing, education with that. But if one class is for you, come in and take that one class.
Yeah.
And I think when I start to see that, you start to say, okay, so now I have these skills. What other skills do I want? And when I look at my criminal justice degree that I actually took and passed, I found that I liked human services. So the human services was a field that allowed me to go out and take a look at group interaction. I wouldn't be in a sociology class if I didn't come sign up for a criminal justice class.
So a lot of people are looking into like the trade or apprenticeship. What's your take on that? We have a philosophy at KCC that any student, whether you're taking an ESL class, a GD class, an apprenticeship class, you are a KCC student. You get the same student ID as everyone else does. So in my area of the institution, that's how we approach it, right? But what would you say to those students that are like, that's something they're like, they're wrestling with like, I kind of want to do a trade or I kind of want to do apprenticeship. Like, what's your take on that?
The couple things that I always say is the Career Center we have on campus, which was a 3-year project, and it's over in Building 4. They're amazing ladies that actually help students really kind of guide what they may be interested in. And there's a U Science test that students can take that gets emailed right to your actual email account. And it's more of just a brain teaser, the best way to describe the actual test that you take. But it gives you an aptitude and an interest. And with that aptitude and interest, all of a sudden that opens up a ton of different avenues. Because you're like, hey, I kind of like transportation and manufacturing. Okay, well, let's sit down and talk about that. Do you want to talk about working on over-the-road actual vehicles? Do you want to talk about working on farm equipment? Or are you talking about designing the actual machinery that does that? And that becomes that real spark. And from there, I just start to recognize that, I say you start your program and you finish your program. And then I have to remind individuals of, you become criminal justice like myself. I got a criminal justice degree. I was offered a sheriff job in my hometown, and I was like, I want to go on and get my sociology degree.
Nice.
Nobody would have bet that coming out of high school that I was going in for my bachelor's degree from there. And I ended up moving out to Montana from New York. So
Right.
it was another adventure in that aspect. And when I think of career technical programs, we have short-term pathways, anywhere from 12 credits. We have 1-year certificates. We have associate's degrees. And I like to think of them as the milestones. You get that first introductory class going, it starts to show even where you may be working in the field later in life. Meaning, like you saw, come into diesel technology, you may be, I want to work on over-the-road trucks, or I want to work on the hydraulics of.
Right.
Well, hydraulics is a huge field that goes into multiple different avenues.
Right.
So
There's a lot of options there.
Yeah, I say start, and when you start, it's finish.
Right.
And then when finish, recognize just because you got a associate's degree in X, that does lead to an actual industry job.
For sure.
But that doesn't mean you have to take that job. That means you can go on to another degree. You can go on to additional courses. So
is that something that anybody, so, obviously this shows or YouTube or we're going to be in podcasts, like, can a community member come and meet with the career service and try to find out, like, meaning see what KCC can do for them?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's always a question because, some of those people think it's like, what's just for students? Well, we want you to become a student. So obviously you're not coming in as a student. So we want you to become a student, right? So people could do that on there as well.
Absolutely. Okay. And, you think of also, because we talk about high school students, you have your career counselors in high school.
Yeah.
They also here ready to work with you too.
For sure.
And so that exploratory is incredibly important. I've seen over the last even 12 years, the commitment to the Klamath Basin education, opening up exploratory ideas for students, and then for KCC to be filling in those opportunities for students. There's other things too where you think, I could be going to school and working, right? It's a hard go, but I did
hard.
that. I did that also, right?
Yeah.
And then you talk about a gap year or a gap term,
Go for
right?
years.
Right? And then you end up stepping out, but you got to come back in and talk to individuals and say, okay, this is what now my new direction is, or this is the direction I'd like to go, or I'd like to pick up from the direction that I stepped off on.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. First of all, I didn't know you were from New York. That's my bucket list to go see New York.
All right.
I am aiming to one day spend Christmas in New York. But
Nice. Well, see, now I'm upstate New York. That's about 3 hours north of the city.
Okay.
3 hours east of Boston, 3 hours west of Montreal.
Wow.
Or east of Montreal and west of Boston.
Huh, that's cool. I did
Yeah,
not
it
know
was a
that.
nice crossroads. Saratoga Springs, Balsa Spa area, thoroughbreds, summertime, concerts. Really
Man.
nice place to grow up.
See, I knew I liked something about you. I think it's the New York, close to New York.
Well, I do have to say I'm a Yankees fan.
I am
that
a
helps.
Yankee fan too. I am a super Yankee fan. Go
World
Yankees.
Series, all right.
Yeah, beat the Dodgers. So last thing that I want to ask you, just two questions that I want to kind of end with. From your perspective as a dean and also as a father, what would be one advice you'd give the parents that are like, I want my child to go to KCC and continue higher education, or even right now we're in fall term, we're week 5, we're doing midterms, and parents are still kind of like, one of the things we talked about in one of our first episodes is the difference in high school and college is we're not sending you a letter telling you what's going on to the parents, right? We're not saying today's Spirit Week and here's what we're doing, right? It's on the students. So what advice would you have to those parents? And then the second question would be, what advice do you have to like a new student that is here, just from your 18 years of being here, from your position and all the programs you oversee, just what is your advice as a dean and as a parent?
My advice to students always is complete. Absolutely just say, I am putting this stake in the ground and I'm going to complete my degree. Every single person here at KCC is set out to help you get that achieved, get it done. And for parents, my thought process always is ask the students how their day went for what they were doing. What I realize is we have students that are coming in the welding program, maybe the first time they ever actually laid a bead. Find out what they actually find interesting in that. The moment you get that spark going, you start to recognize how excited they are about the courses they're taking. And at that point, too, I always follow it up with, are you struggling with anything? Because I'm sure there's someone here on campus that would actually help you get through that struggle. And that would be the two things that I would definitely want to hit. With students, when I say complete, that's not a stress tactic. It's not a pressure tactic. It is employers want to see someone that actually completes something. They want to know what you actually achieved while you were there. And we have a really great reputation with all of our industry partners to where if you come through one of our CTE programs, they know you're being prepared as that first year person that's going to really make a difference in their company. So that's the reason why I say too, like, buckle down, get that kind of completion.
Larry the Cable Guy, get her done.
And get her done.
So, in closing, thank you for being with us today.
yeah,
Thank you
it's
for
fun.
sharing some thoughts and valid information that you're giving to us. What's your favorite part about KCC?
That's always an interesting one for me. So I'm a community college grad. I went on and got my bachelor's degree, then my master's degree. And if you looked at the nationally, I would be one of those students that was academically adrift. But I fell in love with learning at the community college. And as an administrator, I don't always get to see the light bulbs turn on with students in class.
Right.
I don't get to see them, come through and say, "Oh, I really got that problem today," or that great classroom discussion. But I do know I'm a part of making that all happen.
Yeah.
And then I think of the family members that are KCC Badgers, all have a hand in that. Yeah. And that's probably one of the favorite things that I have is I'm working for an organization that has a mission to help individuals get to where they need to go, where they want to go, and then also being an integral part of a community. When I think of the programs that we put in place, all of our CTE programs have national recognition, but they also have our regional recognition. And they're high wage, high demand opportunities for students. Wow. And being a part of that is absolutely gets me out of bed every morning.
I agree. Well, thank you for being this early with us.
Of course.
But thank you guys for tuning in. We would love to see you guys on the next episode. Stay tuned. We are on YouTube. We are on the Apple Podcast, and soon we'll be on the Spotify. So if you can't sit there and watch it, you can put your AirPods and just listen to it. We're trying to make them short and sweet so you can get valuable information. And again, thank you, Mr. Dean Stickles.
Absolutely.
Go Yankees.
Thanks for being here. Go Yanks.